Hello. We are back with another video. I figure I'm gonna keep doing this and we'll see how it goes. I've got another capelet to pattern out today, so I'm gonna chat to you while I do it. And what I wanted to talk over today, kind of while I'm patterning this out, is basically what Valkyrie Collection is, like what my inspiration was that got me started, what I kind of have as a vision for the brand and the company going forward, those sort of things. So hopefully that's mildly interesting. And I need to make sure that that is not going to fall off, because that's going to keep sliding. Multiple uses for helmet, and one of which is fabric weight. Okay, now that that's all set up. So I started Valkyrie Collection originally as Valkyrie Custom Wear, and I began it in 2016. Was the first time that I ever went to a medieval fair. I ever started like making things and selling them. The very first market I ever sold anything at was the Royal Medieval Fair in Waterloo Park, and I still go to it. I'm going to be doing it again this year. I'm very excited. But I started out just because me and my friends in college wanted to make cosplays. We went to like Comic-Con, Fan Expo, all those sort of things. And we had a lot of fun while we were doing that. And I, in particular, really liked making the like medieval and fantasy costumes. So when we did like our Game of Thrones group, or when we did a Vikings group, it was a lot of fun for me, and I wanted to keep making more of those things. But I only had so much money and so much closet space, so I figured I'll just make them for other people. No formal sewing training. I didn't know what I was doing. Everything was very learn as you go when I was starting out, which occasionally it's still kind of like that if I try something new, but I have gotten much better about learning the correct way to do things, which helps make sure that everything is good quality, which is what you want when you're actually selling things to people. But yeah, started out with doing that, and then as time went on and as I grew and changed, and as the company grew and changed, I started doing more fantasy and medieval inspired things that weren't necessarily direct costumes or like cosplay pieces. So I began making day-to-day dresses and jackets and little like workout hoodies and different things that I would want to wear just out and about while I'm doing stuff, while we're living life. And when the pandemic hit, I was still working retail up until that point. So I was working at Winners, and when Winners closed down and I just needed to stay at home, I got a lot of orders on my Etsy for pieces, and since I had fabric and all I was needing to do was stay at home and sew anyways, I decided to just dive fully into making things for my business. And I am so glad that I did, because when everything reopened, as far as like my retail job and that, I sort of went back. I went back for a couple of weeks. And then I was realizing that my orders on my Etsy shop weren't slowing down. The like work that I'd done while everything was closed for a couple of months seemed to pay off. So I took a leave of absence from Winners, and I decided I'm going to like take a couple of weeks, like catch up on the backlog of these orders, and then I'll see sort of where we're at the end of my leave of absence. And then orders kept coming in, and orders kept coming in, and I wasn't really catching up on orders. Like, I still had ones that I needed to work on. I wasn't like knocking down the number of pieces that I needed to make. So about 3 weeks into my leave of absence, with 2 weeks left, I decided I'm actually just not gonna go back, because I don't have the time and I really enjoy this and I want to try and make this a full-time thing. So we're gonna take a jump and hope that it works. And so far so good. I was absolutely terrified because a lot of my friends and family were like, you're gonna full-time like make costumes? What about financial stability? Specifically my mother. What about like having a steady source of income, and what happens if the orders stop coming in? Which, all valid questions. But I so badly wanted to not just be working retail anymore. So even though this is still a clothing-based customer business, it was different. And because it's my company, it always feels different. Even when I had my pop-up, I was worried at first that it would feel like working retail and I wouldn't enjoy it. But I did. I greatly enjoyed it. It was very good. So, despite the concerns of myself and my friends and family, I quit my full-time job. Well, I quit my part-time job, my retail job, and decided I was going to just be a business owner, and we were going to see how that was going to go. So from there, I really leaned into trying to make more day-to-day pieces. So I started with my Sylvie jackets. I was still making them all made to measure at that point, so they were still quite expensive because I can only individually make something so quickly. And then I started working with a manufacturer locally. So that was honestly a big step. There were a lot of things that I would change if I could go back and like redo it. But I think it was a good experience to be able to know what working with a manufacturer can be like. And then from there, it kind of just kept growing. I really enjoyed being able to lean more heavily into designing, into doing more of the like creative aspect of coming up with the designs, as opposed to the creative aspect of always making everything 100% by myself. I still enjoy both, but it was nice to be able to have a different perspective on my creative work and doing more time designing and sketching and coming up with designs and then seeing them in their final form when like samples would come in itched like a different creative part of my brain, and I greatly enjoyed it, and it allowed me to have more pieces at a slightly lower price point because I didn't need to individually hand make every single one of them. So with working with that manufacturer, I now have like my new little pinafores that have come out, and I've got my Diana dresses and the other new pieces that are going to be dropping in the fall-winter collection, which very excited. I'm very excited to show you guys. I might do a like talk through design video after this if anyone would be interested in that, because I think it would be fun to show you guys sort of what my process is for when I'm coming up with a new design. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know. But for the most part, yeah, Valkyrie is something that I made because I wanted to have a creative outlet for the medieval and fantasy costumes that I enjoyed making, and it evolved into this clothing brand where adjustability and affordability and being able to express the best version of your like fantasy whimsical self came out. And hopefully that comes across. I can talk a little bit more about like company values or like what is important to me in designing pieces when I go into my designing video. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys soon.